Namaste everyone. This is Adarsh Anand on the other side. Thank you for being present. Today we are here at the program organized by India Academy. India Academy is being set up with the purpose of grassroots mobilization of teachers and academicians in all subject areas with the goal of strengthening India's education system. Are journalists needed? Are they dispensable? Are journalists title? Or is it being biz and pressure that gives it a different color? Is journalism truthful or are exit polls manufactured? These challenging questions frequently arise in the minds of many. We need someone to delve into them and provide an answer. Therefore, today we are here to address these important issues, and we are here with us Professor Shivaji Sarkar, who will share his insights on objectivity in journalism and exit polls. Please join me in welcoming Professor Shivaji Sarkar. Welcome, Professor. Let me
Thank you.
introduce let me introduce you to you all to our guest. Professor
Sure.
Shivaji Sarkar was working as professor and director of English journalism in Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi, and Dean Mangalyatan University, Aligarh. Professor Sarkar has been a journalist for over 27 years. 27 years. He has worked with various newspapers in senior positions. He was also a senior editor with Financial Express. Professor Shivaji Sarkar is acclaimed for his analytical, politico, socio-economic writings and policy issues. Welcome, Professor. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hope we will have a good talk today. Over to you.
I hope so. Thank you. Thank you, Anand. It's really good morning to everyone. And special thanks to India Academy for giving me an opportunity to talk to all of you. Yes, I'm just talking, and maybe I'm raising also some of my own questions that are there. But basically, I want all of you to think of a serious situation that journalism faces, not India alone, all over the world. So I know you have lots of queries. Some of them are related to journalism, some are related to exit polls, some are related to
I guess he is facing some technical issue. He will be back in a minute. Kindly wait. So, in recent days, uh, after the exit polls, after the results of the elections came, exit polls are being questioned. We all know this. Exit polls showed a different number altogether, and what came out is something which was not expected. So exit polls showed the numbers of NDA alliance too high of of around 370 seats, but it came down to 296 or so. So we are questioning. There are questions in our head regarding the exit polls. So it is whether the exit polls are meant to be like this because they have something to just crash the share market or something. So is there a sad ghat, what we say in Hindi? So is there something a sad ghat in Indian journalism nowadays, or it is just a common error which we all make? So again, Professor Shivaji Sarkar is here. He faced some yeah.
Yes, Anand,
The
sorry for
professor.
this break.
No, no, no.
Of course, you have put that the beginning very rightly. We have lots of queries, but how indeed this situation of 400 par to 300 less has come. And that's a different issue altogether. But we are here discussing basically the various issues that are related to journalism as a whole and how whether it is journalists are needed or not, whether we should have journalists or whether there should be journalism. Hello, Anand, am I audible?
Ji, Professor, you are
Hello,
audible.
Anand, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, please. So we know why we are here, and we know we have lots of queries. Some Anand has of course put it basically as a teaser, but those are very valid queries in a democracy. We really need journalists. Why should they be there? They are, according to many, dispensable, whether they belong to the Godi media, a very Indian coinage, or just opposed to it. Yes, Anand has put the queries, he has repeated the queries. I'm again just telling it to you once again. Are journalists really needed? Are they tilted? Or is it big piece pressures that give journalism a different color? Is journalism truthful? So there are many questions like that. And in this situation, whether exit polls were truthful or manufactured, that also we discuss. So let us start. What is objectivity? Now, objectivity, the dictionary meaning of objectivity is lack of favoritism toward one side or another and freedom from bias. Now, this is a very difficult question. Many will wonder whether freedom from bias is actually possible or not, because every person has his own beliefs, and that is exactly the bias is. So, but in other words, if you take it, it is detachment. So, when a journalist functions as a professional, he has to be detached. This is the basic principles of journalism, not only in India, the world over. So, along with this, let us ask whether truth has become a casualty or not. Is it a casualty in India? No, in reality, it is casualty the world over. No, media doesn't lie as such, but politicians of all kinds, of all parties, are thriving on fake. Even in the US, Europe, and where not. Have we forgotten the US President Donald Trump's post truth, Arab Spring, managed by the US, weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons, chemicals of the Iraqi hero Saddam Hussein? The US itself admitted these were never there. International Atomic Energy Agency did not find any. You were made to believe these were there. Saddam was brutally killed for committing no crime, and Gaddafi was brutally interred in a container in the open sun and died with his skins. You do not know about Syrian ISIS terror and subsequent refugee influx to Europe and more mayhem. This is the partial truth. And this is actually a quote from my own article on Manipur, the problem that we have been facing. And this was titled Media and Truth. And I have given the title to this talk, Objectivity and Exit Polls, Journalists Needed for Authentic News Dissemination. So this is where we come back, going back to queries. Indeed, the basic query is, why should there be a tribe like journalists? Or why should there be journalism that misinforms, gives motivated write-ups to malign a government that is supposedly pro-people, gives information unasked, takes care of the majoritarianism, serves best the preferred religion, said to be scam-free, and possibly all criticism are just to paint a picture that doesn't suit motivated readers who do not want to even listen about a genuine mistake committed by their favorite leader and his colleagues who represent nothing but the virtue. That is it. So both the media has been honestly doing the job and running down either a political, bureaucratic, or a pedestrian sufferer. They were all humbug, the committed readers believe. There is a larger section of other readers, viewers, listeners who differed and accused the journalists of doing a cover up of all the truth. There is larger of section of other viewers, listeners who differed and accused the journalists of doing a cover up, as I said, of all the truth. They say no individual or a government could be flawless. Yes, people want to know the flaws. Are the highways fine? Are tolls not issued extortion? Aren't the prices being jacked up for the profits of the chosen few businessmen? Rulers would disagree with all this. That's 2024 Lok Sabha elections in India. It has been one of the quietest elections, except for ruling party rallies, occasional meetings of the opposition, and vehicles with party banners on the road. Not much was there to denote a national election. So if someone says that why the prices are rising and how much it is rising, quoting the Reserve Bank of India, he is termed the fifth columnist. And if he is a journalist, he must be hanged for tarnishing the image of a ruler who many can't believe can fall, or they have faulted is to save a religious majority who are under constant attack by a despicable minority who disobeys state implemented NRC, CA, various kinds of citizenship laws, uniform civil code, or any other law. That's where a journalist differs. The journalist is the most ordinary person who are hated by any ruler because they put him on the dock for the slightest mistake. He doesn't work for himself. He has no immunity nor protection. So I have, of course, explained what is objectivity, but let us try to understand it in a practical situation. Let us imagine it is an ancient village community. Most are busy tilling their fields or making goods that would suit the farm. There is one village head who does many mischiefs. A man, like in any community, carries tales about the misdeeds of the village head. It spreads through word of mouth. Villagers feel uncomfortable, and some of them may even be rebellious. The head would treat them with his goons. The storyteller spreads it to other villages. Gradually, because of him, the village head is forced to correct his ways, to appreciate or condemn him. Now, this is you see, I'm giving you another very practical instance. A few about a few months back, because of a fault in the Delhi metro or coach door systems, one lady's apparatus got caught in the door and she was dragged on the platform and died. Not much was just talked about it, but I carried on almost a tirade on the Twitter or X as you call it. And finally, today they have announced that they have done the necessary changes in the doors that this doesn't happen to any other passenger ever anyway. So this is what this a storyteller does, and this is what basically a journalist is supposed to do. Yes, journalists represents the people. Rulers don't like to be questioned. Any kind of ruler for that matter, whatever his political color may be. But a ruler is basically averse to be questioned. And in India, we have seen all the chief ministers are despots of each of his own kind. Journalists raise the questions of common man to the ruler, to the leader. And let us come back to the elections in India. What are the questions that are possible and what might have affected the results? Let us go into the issue. Mostly we wonder whether after so much of Ram Mandir, its inauguration, very colorful inauguration, Pran Pratishtha, and almost all brutality of the country had assembled at Ayodhya, why people of Ayodhya had taken an adverse or adverse views to this. Let us see. So, what a journalist would question? A journalist would question the demolition of 22,200 shops, 800 houses, 30 temples, and 9 mosques at Ayodhya alone. And none was adequately compensated. Many were not compensated at all. The state believed that it has enormous powers, so they bulldozed many houses or front of the houses and said it is for a greater cause of the temple, the roads have to be wide. They did. They had demolished 500 temples at Varanasi apart from a large number of houses. They had demolished similarly many houses, many temples at Chitrakoot or Allahabad to widen the road for Kumbh Mela. And the state said, or the state's officials said, people have to do it and people would not be compensated because it is for the cause of the nation. If a journalist raise such issue, is he right or wrong? Just an aside, if I tell you that Allahabad is no Muslim name, as many of us believe, but that is the truth. It is named after Ella, daughter of Vaivashwat Manu and Shraddha. It was called Ilawad according to Puranas and Aine Akbari of Abul Fadl. None protested its name change to Prayagraj, which does not exist anywhere. There is Tirtharaj Prayag. Renaming, you are asked, why should it then be renamed? Renaming is lucrative business. Renaming of Allahabad alone cost rupees 3,000 crore to the exchequer. Similarly, why was Faizabad renamed to Ayodhya? No answer except to suit the whims of an arrogant system. You see, Faizabad is just 15 kilometers away from Faizabad, but culturally they are two different cities. Faizabad is a Nawabi city. So, a society has to question. And a society that is not questioning cannot progress. Power and pilferage go together. So, don't we need to ask questions? Just ask yourself. Not many of us believe what RBI has warned about the price rise, which was a major election issue. The RBI warned that since 2014, prices have risen continuously at 5.5% a year, or by simple arithmetic, 55% in 10 years. And if you combine it, it goes over 70%. Is it wrong to write that? Is it wrong to discuss that? Or does it justify the high inflation? And who suffers most from an inflation? It is the government. Its expenses go up by an equal amount of 55 to 70%. Yes, the multinational corporations of the G7 and some homegrown biggies are benefiting out of it. One such house announced on June 7, even before the formation of the new government, that it got a major multi-dollar container business from the Kolkata port. That was on June 7. That means it got the deal during the elections. The container depot at the port is earning high profits under government operation, and its profits is rising 65% a year. The question is, why should it be given to private company. Should that be told to people or not? If a journalist is not telling it, in my view, he would not qualify to be called so. The Working Journalists Act 1955 recognized him as such under Article 19(1)(a), that is the fundamental rights and freedom of expression of the Constitution. Let me come down to another curious situation, the exit polls. I am not surprised for these being wide off the mark. The slogan was "Char so far, 400 over 400 seats." And why? The candidate at Ayodhya, Lallu Singh, said 400 seats were needed to amend the constitution. So, for amending the constitution and giving an power to a government to change whatever it wants, should people accept that? No, people didn't accept. We have seen people did not give those 400 seats it wanted. Rather, people almost balanced the opposition and the ruling combined, present ruling combined now almost at par. There is a difference of a few seats on. And possibly we'll see an interesting situation as the speaker selections are held on 26th June this month. Possibly opposition this time will not be a silent spectator as it has been in the two previous occasions. Now the question is there anything wrong in the exit polls? Many would say that exit polls, they possibly studied together separately, but they came to the same conclusion because the ground level situation was the same. But I'm quite surprised how the exit polls were off the mark. A, what they're supposed to be is actually true. They should have been quite close to the mark. Normally, I'm not surprised if an exit poll is off the mark. Many a time they have been so. In an article in mid-May, I had warned of it that the exit polls would not get the actual figures because there is total silence during the elections. The electorate were not speaking. The voters' silence was very significantly noted. Even in 2004, the exit polls predicted landslide victory for Atal Bihari Vajpayee, but he lost the polls. Mistakes are possible. What troubles is, in this case in 2024, 10, there were 10 different forecasts by 10 major organizations, major journalistic and cephalogist organizations. And they had same numbers, same slant, same narration. And an exit poll by different organizations, this is not possible. Each of the poll star is supposed to work separate, and they do so. So they would have different samples. They would have different area of working. They would be talking to different people, and naturally, they should have different conclusions, though there can be similarity. In my opinion, the similarities often in such cases, if it is very objectively done, as we have discussed what objectivity is, would also be much less. There would be quite a variation in these kind of exit polls, which are done as the voters come out of the polling booth. The 2024 exit polls in June 1 are so alike that is not possible unless the numbers are coming from only one source. This may look like a wild allegation, but the results 3 days later prove it. More sinister with the way the share market shot up on June 2, a day later, and we find Telugu Desam Party leader Chandrababu Naidu's wife gets rupees 679 crore in a day at the stock market. Is it not unbelievable? Yes, I am apprehensive. Was this just an accident or conspiratorial maneuvers to deprive the citizen investors? And that's a big crime. And that is why a section of the people have demanded a joint parliamentary committee investigation into the share market operations. People are not trusting the system. So people are raising questions and journalists are echoing it. Is raising question blasphemous or not raising it a sin? Nobody has answered. More sinister is possible linkages to the electoral bond that were under the pressure or orders of the Supreme Court announced. The details were given to the people 3 months back, and we found there are lots of quid pro quos in it. So these linkages are there or not is a great suspicion. The infrastructure project this year is to cost rupees 10 lakh crore, a bit more than the last year. The question is whether people's money being invested properly by redoing a central vista in the New Delhi center, which is also called Boat Club, for rupees 20,000 crore, demolishing a number of office structures, station buildings, and utilities for not much rhyme or reason, except to call it that we are a developed nation. And what is development? Nobody has explained to the people. Station buildings built by the colonial rulers have the simplicity. One is just to get in and move out. The old structures, 150-year-old, are quite still strong. And why they are being demolished, nobody has answered. Yes, improvements are required. Repairs may be required. So some new structures, new station structures are very complicated and ostentatious. A poor country like India doesn't need. Many simple rail halls are being dismantled for nothing. Similarly, many airports are being created for no rhyme or reason, as we have done also at Ayodhya, where today virtually no flight goes there because there is no passenger. India needs slow trains and not bullets, but we insist we must have bullet trains, which is not needed because if we want to fly to short distances also, or if we have good trains, why should we need a bullet train, which escapes all stations where the poor keeps fit? Recently, the IPC have been amended. It is being called Bharat Nyaya Sanhita. Many draconian provisions have been included in it. It is being implemented along with some other laws from 1st of July. Parliament has not discussed the Bharat Nyaya Sanhita. It was presented to each of the houses, and in less than an hour, the massive, voluminous IPC amendment, the Nyaya Sanhita, were passed by Parliament. No discussion, no debate. There are instances across the developed world how old structures continue to be used for centuries and preserved as heritage. The colonial powers looted the world but were miser in spending for themselves. Does a poor country need a new rupees 8,000 crore parliament building? It's a very raising question. It was during the elections. I don't know rulers heard of it or not, but people were discussing. As the people of Ayodhya were discussing about their own oaths, because when the Pran Pratishtha ceremony was being held, they were locked up in their houses, and if someone tried to even peep out, the policemen used to shower their lathis on them. Yes, that became an election issue, but nobody realized it was an election. And that is why from Ayodhya to about 200, 300 kilometers away, that is Sonbhadra, the ruling combined lost almost every seat in that region, apart from various other regions where the opposition did very well because the issue was why the constitution should be amended without consulting the people, as the demolitions were carried on in Varanasi and all other places without consulting the people. If you do not consult the people have their own way to express their ire, anger, or concern. So what I was telling that why should we have a new parliament building? The British Parliament is built in 1876 after the one built in 1016 AD was devastated by fire in 1834. The Icelandic Parliament, Alþingi, is the oldest parliament in the world. It was established in 930 AD. Britishers did a fine job of building in India's Parliament House as per Indian ethos and Indian architectural patterns. It is basically based on Chaucer Jogini Temple at Jabalpur, and virtually that pattern was replicated while making this Parliament building, where every day 3 to 4,000 people visit in that old Parliament building, and you can't even feel it that there are so many people assembling at this house. And the new structure is deficient in many ways. The NDA parliamentary party and Congress parliamentary meetings after the elections were held at the Central Hall in the old Parliament House building, Class 2. This is testimony of the deficiency of the new structure. An added question is, why should India need to increase the number of parliamentarians to 1,200 from present 750? It is being said because the population has increased, so we need to have a larger representation and larger representatives in the houses. But for what reason? We have not tried to study the kind of anomalies this is going to create. Indira Gandhi and Atal Bihari Vajpayee had carefully put it off. They knew what the problem is. You see, there is now a population disbalance between the south and north. South population has risen slowly, north it has risen very fast. So if we have to go raise the numbers, north would have more numbers, the cow belt would have more numbers, and that will be create not only a disbalance within the house, but it will be a political imbalance. So it would be discriminatory to South India, Bengal, and many other states, particularly Northeast and similar smaller states, as their representation would come down. Apart, expenses of the government would multiply with the numbers of parliamentarians to 12. No one has raised this critical issue, not even the opposition. But these are very valid issues that are being discussed mainly in Bengal and south of the country. So these are various issues that we have been discussing where objective press coverage has not been there, but this is also not true. There have been newspapers, there have been some TV television channels who have done it, who have covered all the issues very objective, very dispassionately. They have raised several issues. Many had even pointed out that the silent voter means a major change in the polity. But again, exit polls ignored that. Again, the question is why? Where the exit polls manufactured? This is a good question, whether they are manufactured or not. Because if they are not manufactured, they can't have almost the same figures, not similar figures. So there are many issues like this. Let me see what one important issue has been the result. We have been discussing that. It is surprising. In fact, I find it very surprising that the ruling combined did not foresee the troubles in Ayodhya, which myself, during a visit about 6 weeks before the January 22 celebrations, I could notice. There are ruins of the shops, houses, and temples. It was visible. As we talk to people of Hyderabad or Ayodhya, you can feel their concern. And as a journalist, I wondered whether it was reflecting in the elections or not. I asked the voters, I asked the people how they are going to vote. They were silent. They didn't answer. They said, there is time, we'll discuss, we'll see how we can do it. People were unhappy. It is visible. People said they were not consulted before actions were taken for demolitions. Just bulldozers came without a notice, just they did it. Very few were partly compensated. Mostly people were not compensated at all. They were left in the land. People of Faizabad did not like renaming the Nawabi city to Ayodhya. It is in the same district. Ayodhya is the district of Faizabad, but they didn't like that Faizabad should also be renamed as Ayodhya. And it has caused actual practical problems also. Because the same name at two places often causes problems for the visitors. Faizabad is a different identity about 15 kilometers apart that I have told you. The Pran Pratishtha ceremony locked up the locals behind their doors. And if anyone even peeped out, the cops showered their lathis on them. Over a dozen constituencies around Ayodhya voted differently. Varanasi was a critical script through. Ram didn't influence the team. There is a rivalry syndrome as well. And that means that after the filing of nominations by Rahul Gandhi at Raebareli, and their own person, Kishoriyal Sharma at Amethi, the entire whole scenario changed. The constitution, change of constitution became a major issue. Now, before I further elaborate on these issues, I think we should better go on to discussion. But before I close it, I would like to refer to the YouTubers and influencers and WhatsApp, etc. message. WhatsApp, though rains information, but almost all this information need to be rechecked, established. These are not recycled, lifted, twisted, fabrication, or just bombarded of lies and disinformation. WhatsApp, that is WhatsApp India. YouTube and news channels have evolved as an alternate. They brought out new facts in many cases, also established a discussion. They are, however, mostly predictable, except for a few who bring the reports from the spot. Mostly they are just the opposite of the Godi media. Democracy needs balanced narratives and not campaigning that the YouTubers basically did. Influencers like Dhruv have come out with a new direction. They largely did good exposures of what ruling combined conceived. Mostly influencers were in a campaign mode and could be said to have convinced people with well-researched narrations. There is a gap. Every time it may not be so. Influencers are used by advertisers to boost the sales to narratives that may not be true at all. So, love or hate, the country needs citizen representatives who work for organized newspapers or news system, print or wave, TV channels or radio, or maybe a new emerging media. They are responsible. No one has complained against the print or wave and the select few regional TV channels. All India Radio too gave authentic news and constituency analysis despite being a government sponsored organization and their journalists on government payroll. Yes, we need them. We need all of them for the sake of a functioning and effective democracy. So when a journalist doesn't speak, that means the people are dumb and the society will be heading for a serious crisis. Most governments don't realize it across the world. And the US actually have done very good with studies of the MNC syndrome who become a super sovereign organization. So these are the times when world citizens have to discuss why journalists are needed and why they should be there. You see, most authoritarian regimes, including the Soviet Union, have suffered whenever they muddled the press of freedom of expression. So the press, freedom of expression, journalists, and journalism are great safety valve. Safety valve for governments, safety valve for the society, safety valve for everyone. Safety valves against monopolies and a democratic functioning not only of the people but also of the corporate. So with this, I close. I'm open to your questions, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you for enlightening us. So now it's the turn of the audience. I will request our audience to ask questions if they have any. You can type your question in the chat box or you can directly ask Professor by turning your videos on. So let me ask you a question first. So, Professor, do you think media is being highly controlled? If yes, was it the same situation in UPA 2 or UPA 1? Because, we know about the Radia tape controversy that arose during the UPA 2. So, was was media highly controlled back then also, or the situation changed after the coming of NDA? Because we know about the ads which the government provides, so it's very much natural the media shifts towards the government. So Radia tapes is one of the reasons many of the ministers were decided in the public, in the journalism room. So what
That was
about
about 20 years ago. Yes. You
Ajay?
see, there has been one thing with liberalization. The problem is just not from the government. Yes, government also is the problem sometimes. Problem is that most corporate houses, they function in various ways, and they do not want that their way of functioning should be probed or be exposed to the people, because quite often what they do, they themselves know they are not doing it in a very ethical manner. So one is the corporate. The other, you asked whether during UPA there was this kind of a repression or not. No, I would say no. There was no this kind of a control. Sometimes, of course, there were indirect control, but basically there was no such repressive measures seriously to shut the mouth of the people or the press. The press was rather too open, press was too critical during UPA. And it is not just that during after 2014 also, for a year or two, that continued in this regime also, gradually there was changes in it. But one thing I must tell you also, that just blaming this central government alone is not enough. In fact, some of the state governments, any name you can take, whether in the north or south, the chief ministers are very authoritarian, and they function in a very authoritarian way. Whether it is in Odisha, whether it is in UP, or whether it is in Tamil Nadu, you can take up any name, same with Kerala for that matter, or in Northeast you can take. So there are. The chief ministers are more authoritarian perhaps than many others. So this has been a, I think, post 2000 phenomenon basically. Before 2000, this has gradually increased as the regional parties took controls of the various states. So this is one thing that is there. Second thing is, you see, the way this Godi media has evolved, virtually it has been kind of a propaganda media, which were not inquiring into the situations. And this has, what happens, then whosoever does that, they remain in an ecosystem. Whatever they want to listen, they listen that on. And that exactly has happened during these elections we have seen. Many of the we know, everybody knows how some of the corporates have been rather overbearing on the people and on the system. So they also try to control the media in a different way, pressures and various tactics, various kind of other things, of course. So basically, in short, this is the situation. And more you control the press, more you feel happy that only the good thing is coming out. But when only good things come out, the flaws that are there, they overshadow the good. Yes,
Adarshi,
please.
this is Anurag Mishra. I have one question
Yes,
for Professor Sarkar.
yes, please.
Professor Sarkar, why are you so against this kind of development which is going on in different countries, advanced countries, and now it has been started in India? Say, for example, you have said yeah, I mean, there is no need for this bullet train. Now,
Absolutely.
maybe possible that the bullet train would be used by filthy rich, but there are these kind of sections in the society, and I mean they also want that those kind of facilities by paying that much amount. If they don't have any problem, so why should we? Say, for example, if we go to a restaurant and we demand a thali, okay, So the thali is available of 200 rupees also. It is available of 600 rupees also. So
So
it
2000
depends
maybe.
upon it depends upon us which thali we want to purchase. So, but the
Absolutely.
but the option is always there. So market runs
Ankit
like
ke
this
naam-
only.
Ankit ke
So
dapat.
there are subsidized trains also, sir.
Mayar ka
So
ek question to me.
so there
Yes, please.
are subsidized trains also, and there can be bullet train also. So why we have to insist all the time that only subsidized trains have to run by the government, and there should not be any bullet train? Number one, and I mean it is linked with
Let me
something which
answer
is
this.
with the
Let me answer.
Nehruvian socialism. So do you think that after 70 years of independence, this country can of 140 billion, 140 crore people can
Extension
be
लगा
run
दो
on?
जरा इसमें. Number
So,
one.
so can
Yes.
we can we thi- can we think that this country of 140 crore can be run on the basis of Nehruvian socialism now after 70 years of independence?
I'm not for Nehruvian socialism. I'm not at all for Nehruvian socialism. I am for a practical economics. The practical economics says even now, some of the trains, say from Ahmedabad to Bombay or Mumbai, whatever you say, takes 4.5 hours to travel. Not more than that in many cases. How much the bullet train is going to save you time? 3 to 3.5 hours it is going to take the same distance to travel. Let us take even 3 hours. So how much are you really saving in time? And how much are you investing? Your investment is over 1,40,000 crore. And the recurring expenses are 10 times that of running an ordinary train. Normal train, not ordinary train. Indian trains are not ordinary. Indian railways have evolved a system. They have built up a system at less expenses, a very efficient system. Trains from Kashmir with Jammu to Srinagar, now Katra also, to Kanyakumari travels seamlessly and on dot. So we have an efficient system. Bullet train is not more efficient than that. It is not saving more time to invest those amounts in the Indian railways. Make it more efficient. What's wrong in it? You are not saving on time traveling in a bullet train much, but you are spending much more. The state is spending. You are not spending. Individuals are not spending.
No, sir. No, the state is not spending. The Japan
Absolutely,
has
the
given
state is spending. Japan has
no.
given a loan. So who
Japan
will
is
pay it?
no.
Japan
That is
has
a very
given a
that is a very nominal loan of 50 years duration. So that will be
not 50
recovered
years,
by the
30 years,
tickets,
sir.
sale of
It is
tickets,
30
sale
years.
of tickets.
It is 30 years.
Maybe 30, maybe
Nominal,
30 years.
not nominal. Not nominal. It has it has the 2% of interest rate
The
and the
0.1%
amount
of
that
it,
is, yes,
0.1% of it.
not 0.1%. Actually, it comes to around 2% of interest rate. And the expenses that are there is not small. So we are ignoring all these issues. We feel development means running a bullet train. Development means raise the purchasing capacity of the common man. Today, there are more jobless people in this country. We have not tried to create jobs. Had we created jobs, this government would not have this problem today. We are not going into that. Bullet trains, how many people? We started an airport at Ayodhya. Today, all flights have been cancelled because there is no passenger. You are not taking any lesson from such instances. How can you say that bullet train will not be a failure? The travel cost on a bullet train would be almost equal or more than an airline. And Ahmedabad to Bombay, there are almost flights every 40 minutes.
So the bullet train
Why?
is only one example. Bullet train is only one example. I am basically pointing out the basic premise in which the developmental economics is always criticized. That's my point actually.
No,
Bullet
no,
train or not, no bullet train does not make any
no,
difference to this country.
no. Development, if you say what exactly is development, development doesn't mean demolishing a house and reconstructing it using the same material and increasing the profits of the contractor. That is not development. That is a pilferage. Pilferage on the state system. And we don't try to recognize it. We have closed down most efficient public sector undertakings. I mentioned only one. And we have given it to the private corporate. They are making the profits and the state is having the losses. We don't try to say that is development. That is not development. Empowering the private corporate is not development. Let them compete with the government system. Let them compete with the government system, efficient system of the government. All those Maharatnas and Navaratnas, let them do it. Why can't they do it? Why they want to close down all the government systems? Airport Authority of India was doing a fine job. Why it has to be given a private sector? That is not development. That is my concern is. If they wanted to develop an airport, they can develop it separately. Why should they have to take a government system?
So do you want to say
acquiring a government system is not development?
So do you want to say that Tata Sons have not done any contribution to this nation?
Absolutely not. What they have contributed? Just let me answer your Air India. Air India was
India.
No, I'm giving one example. Air India, Tata went to Jawaharlal Nehru that he can't run Air India, please take it over. Nehru took it over, and today everybody is blaming Nehru for taking it over. And what they did? They created a mechanism through which Air India and Indian Airlines, they were the world's fewest airlines which were in profits.
Sir, I got your
3
point.
to 4 or 5 airlines. No, just a minute. It was by Prafulla Patel. I can name the person. It was a Prafulla Patel and company. They've made all the profitable routes were given to private airlines, Jet and others. And Air India was made to suffer all losses. And then, for just the cost of 3 airlines, 2,100 crores, 3 aircraft, Tata took it over. And Tata became very great.
Sir, I got your point. But yes. Suppose take my case. I am a very small businessman. I have started some kind of business with a 10 lakh capital. Okay. Now, suppose I have incurred many losses into my business. So what should I do? Should I continue with those losses? And eventually I would be, declare myself,
there are 2 things.
Impossible to run the business, or should I sell out my business to someone? So if I am seeing my interest in businesses, so the same logic would be applied to a bigger company also. So the point is this is all human psychology. You can't change the human psychology. So once, because socialism has gone down because of this, because they did not
I am not
understand
for
the human value.
socialism. I am not for socialism. I want an efficient system for the country. And efficient system doesn't mean that we
So
dwell
I
the
think,
public
sir,
sector
I
under.
think sir, my just last comment, sir, my just last
Yes,
comment that I
yes,
don't think there is any system in this country which is more efficient than Tata Sons. There is no system.
What,
I mean, not
what do you
even,
think?
not
Just a
even
minute.
in government
Uh,
sector, not
just,
even in private sector.
just a
They
minute. Just
are
a
the,
minute.
they are corruption free system, and they are the most efficient system.
I don't believe Tata Sons is corruption free. They are not. I can give you an instance. I am not going to do that. But is Engineers India Limited not efficient? Is Steel Authority of India not efficient? Is Rourkela Steel Plant not efficient? There are several
But
other steel
they are
plants we
incurred by
have in the
corruption.
government sector. Huh? No, there is no corruption in that. Absolutely wrong.
There is corruption. There is corruption.
It's corruption.
I
That
have instances with those corruptions.
I
I
can
have
I can
instances.
name 10. I can name private sector companies who are corrupting the system just now. I
No,
can
they
name 10
are
of them.
corrupt. No, I understand. I
So who are
understand. Private
corrupting the
companies are.
private? They are corrupting the system, and we are
Okay.
They
not
are.
taking any action against them. We are not taking any action against them.
Sorry, I need to
Okay,
include.
please let us go to the next question, please, Anand,
Uh,
if you have.
uh, let's go on to the next question. Thank you, Anurag ji. Thank you, Shivaji ji.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
let's move on to the next question. That I have a question again. We see in recent years that there is a high polarization in journalism. We see a section who are singing praises of the government, no matter what they do. But we also see a total different journalism who go on to abuse the government, no matter what they do. We know some of the names like the Caravan, the Wire, etc., etc. Why so? Why this polarization? So we
Now
don't
you
see a journalism that for example, that criticizes government when they go on to do some wrong stuff, and who praises the government when they do some right stuff. We see a total polarization in journalism. There are platforms who go on to write negativity against the government, no matter what they do. And again, there are mainstream medias, of course, who are who are singing praises of the government.
no. There is a basic.
Hmm.
Even in the government, there is there. Government function efficiently because they have checks and balances. They are checks and cross checks. So we have the controller of Auditor General. They do the auditing of each of the functions. They do that.
Hmm.
That is the job. Now, if you say, if the CAG report is published, that is a negative report against the government, at least I don't agree with it. Governments, not only government, any individual, don't do a mistake. Can they do a mistake? Pointing out a mistake is not a crime. Anybody doing it, anybody doing a mistake, if somebody is pointing it out, that is, I think, a social system of correcting. So why can't we correct that system? Why can't we point that out? You said polarization. Yes, there has been polarization, and particularly the polarization was started by who? Polarization was, you see, we can blame the political part of it. But in reality, it is not the political part. Political part only succumbed to the bureaucracy. I know how the bureaucracy, they never want the kind of transparency that people want. It is something very, and the Godi media, it is unfortunate, the political part of the government succumbed to the pressures of the bureaucracy in doing it. They felt that if this goes, issues are not raked up. You see, if 10 issues are raked up, then maybe 2, they are not correct. That is also possible. But one thing I can tell you, A, the system of journalism, whatever it is, I'm not going into names of any of the organizations. If they're allowed to function freely, it is not a problem for the government. It helps the government. I know, I mentioned only one, the Delhi metro issues. And unfortunately enough, I can tell you, not only Delhi metro, in India, we have about 8 other metro systems. They're all running in losses. And nobody knows about it. They feel they are being run very efficient. We have started a rapid rail transit system for Meerut. It doesn't go to Meerut. It travels only for 15 kilometers or so. But then there is enormous expenditure and no income. So this also is happening. So if we point that out, government will say, I have done something good, you are questioning me. No, government needs to be questioned. Any government, any father, forget about government. Don't you question your father? Don't you question the head of the family? Don't you question your mother? So questioning is part of our system. And if we are not questioning, then the society would be interested. You ask for caravan. Yes, caravan has a different kind of an approach. I don't mind that. Why should we mind that? Indian Express does a good job. Why should we mind it? Let the caravan do it. Nobody has said the caravan does anything wrong. But any government feeling that they are not questionable, that itself is wrong. Any government, because I have elected the government. Government is not my boss. Government is my servant. And I can ask the servant if they are doing anything wrong. The basic precept of a government being a my baap itself is wrong. That is where the entire discussion has gone awry in the society. And we have become servant of the servant. Why shouldn't we question the government, whosoever it is, whatever the color it is? Why shouldn't we ask it? Why shouldn't we ask the all in UP, supposedly very well administered state? The bulldozers have wreaked havoc there. Forget the bulldozer. There have been 10 recruitment scandals in UP. And if you raise the question, you say, someone is maligning the government. Government is malfunctioning. Nobody is maligning. We need to understand this. Unless and until we understand it, our entire political structure would collapse. We have seen it collapsing in Madhya Pradesh. The Vyapam scandal. Same. Multi-dimensional professional courses scandal. So we want to meet again. We are repeating it. We are repeating it in central the common university exam system. We don't need it. India is a very diverse country and we need a diverse system. We forget it. We want to put everything in one group. It is not possible in this country. That is where we are at fault. Yes, please.
No, every government needs to be criticized. But what Caravan does, for example, let me give you an instance that they went up to eulogize Sayyid Gilani. So these instances are there when not even anti-government, they go against the state or they go against the people of India. So in many of the cases, so therefore I said there is a heavy polarization in the media as well. One is singing the praises of the government, the one is is giving not only anti-government stand, but also is eulogizing Sayyid Gilani. So
what's wrong in this? No, what's wrong in eulogizing Soviet Gilani? I'm not eulogizing it. I'm asking. No. The issue is, I have been involved with the Naga insurgency talks in a different way, in various ways I was involved. There are various issues. But if you only think that this can't be solved. He is a bad person. So Mizoram issues never have been solved. Nagaland issues would never have been solved. Imphal, Manipur, we have created a mess. We're not trying to solve it. And if you talk at it again, like you have asked, someone else would ask that you are criticizing the government. A Manipur issue on May 3, 2023, that is a year back, could have been just solved in 10, 30 minutes. But nobody did it. Hello?
You're audible. So
So it could have been solved in just 30 minutes. When that all party all party rally was taken out and the Metis attacked it, and the tribe, all kinds of tribes were there, and only one tribe went and attacked it. The state government did not intervene. From there till now, it is over a year now, 13 months over now. And Manipur is just burning. Issues are not being solved. And I can't believe that there is no insurgency issues there. We have created a law and order situation, we have gotten to a mess, and now we are unable to solve. So, if Caravan is putting that out, there is nothing wrong in it. Let there be different voices. Different voices is not dissent. And if you try to suppress those voices, there are problems. Never suppress a voice. Yes, please.
So thank you for the answer, Shivaji. So is there any questions that needs to be asked?
Yes. May I ask a question?
Kindly turn your video on.
Actually, I'm sitting in a dark room.
Okay. Then ask.
Okay. Yes. Can I continue?
Yeah. Please.
Sarkar Sahab, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Sarkar Sahab, I'm Rajiv Kumar Sharma from Delhi. And
yes,
I usually read you. Sir,
thank you.
Going by your logic of economic viability of bullet train,
yes,
should we continue with the old generation tanks, MiG-21, etc., at China Pak border instead of BrahMos, Tejas, etc., because they are also very, very costly as per bullet? And a small question, other. Secondly, can you put light on why West Bengal is now not leading the India, as it has been culturally, industrially, and as a role model? But bombs and Sandesh Khalis are there in West Bengal, sir, your home state. And thirdly, sir, in last 10 years, whether nothing good has been done for Bharat, you yourself said that Prafull Patel of UPA was most corrupt minister so far as Air India, etc., was concerned. So, do you think, sir, as a critic, sir, I'm asking you as a critic, whether nothing, an iota of good has been done in last 10 years for Bharat, sir? Please.
Did I say that? In fact, if you read some of the pieces, I have mentioned the government has not been able to project the good they have done. The government has got into a particular group, and that group is of religion. They have to rise beyond that. Government has done lots of good this week. There are lots of schemes that are very good. But there is another catch to it. And it is again from a government report only that came out about 10 days back. About 50% of the projects haven't got the funds to be run and taken to the conclusion, right conclusion. That is also a problem. So government is doing good. Government has done two major mistakes, this government, I believe. One was, of course, everybody knows, the demonetization. It was a very, I would say, stupid act. It should not have been done. It has devastated the parallel economy of the poor that in this country had, and that had stood by during the worst crisis of 91, 97, Southeast Asia crisis, and 2007-8, the Lehman Brothers crisis, the subprime crisis. We devastated that. Until today, we could not restore those small and medium industries and the small daily wages economy properly. I don't know who are the advisors of this government. Something they should not have done, they have done. The second thing that they did was the GST. I was studying it cursorily a few days back. Nowhere in the world the GST is at that high level, 28%, 5%, 12%. Even a roti, if you buy a roti at a restaurant, the roti may cost 5 rupees, but it has a 5% GST. And paratha, if you take by chance, it has 18% GST. It is very irrational. So we need to bring down the GST to not more than 10 to 12%. The government problem with the government is government feels whatever they are doing, and the bureaucrats definitely want that because they have to prove before the government. So government is not prepared to bring down the GST rate. Government is not prepared some of the mistakes. And I feel government should not have disinvested all the public sector units which are really profitable, the Maharatnas and Navaratnas. Air India was one of the gravest mistakes that people like Praful Patel did. And he was being prosecuted and this government helped him out. So fine enough. So could I reply you, please?
Sir, my another question was about the economic logic behind the bullet train. You said by applying same logic, sir, whether we should continue with the old generation tanks, MiG-21, etc., instead of Tejas and BrahMos. And secondly, sir, what about West Bengal?
Yes, yes.
Where
please,
is West
yes.
Bengal now, sir?
Sorry,
Sir, these
sorry,
are the
sorry,
two.
sorry.
Please.
Let me ask West Bengal first. Now, I think West Bengal is one state which I did a study 3 months back. Telegraph, even Telegraph wasn't aware of it. And many other papers carried that. West Bengal is almost competing with Gujarat in its economy. It is just after Gujarat and is sprinting and possibly will catch up Gujarat in another 2 to 3 years. If you say West Bengal is not doing well, it's not correct. West Bengal its economy is really doing very well. Its electronic city and many other industries are doing very well. Calcutta port has been doing very well, but central government intervened and it gave its container facility to a private sector company, which was not needed. 65% a year, the profit is rising, and it has been given out. The West Bengal, if you look at the economy, yes, there are issues of Sandesh Khali, but Sandesh Khali issue was partly correct, partly it was politically rigged. The way whatever happened, nobody can, of course, support it or sustain it at all. Definitely not. There are flaws in the system. Definitely there are flaws, and that needs correction, no doubt on it. But again, if you take overall economic aspects of West Bengal, even in jobs they are doing better. Not as good as Gujarat. Gujarat is, of course, far ahead in that. So that is one. The second question that you asked is, whether having a MiG is desirable. And you compared MiG with bullet train. No, they are not comparable. We have we have been trying to all long back. MiG was replaced by Sukhoi. Now we are trying to have Rafale and other systems. We are trying to develop our own. We could not do that. But we have developed our own missiles. But bullet train can't be compared with that. You see, why should we need a bullet train? What do we need? Speed. What is speed we are going to have? If a distance of 400 kilometers from Ahmedabad to Bombay, even by a bullet train takes 3+ hours, and even a present normal Indian railway system takes 4+ hours. So what is the saving in it? Why are we trying to drain out our hard-earned money on silly issues of supposed speed? Indians have lots of time, we all know. So 1 hour doesn't matter much for anyone here, whether he is a billionaire or whether he is just a daily wage. So that is where my objection is there, that we don't need this kind of system because Indian Railway is continuously improving the systems. Indian Railway had a maximum speed sometime one of around 55 kilometers per hour. Now even the slowest trains run at 70 kilometers per hour. Rajdhanis and similar other trains, even Vande Bharat, they do not have a speed more than 120 kilometers per hour. So how much are you going to have at 200 kilometers, they are saying, for a bullet train, and what is the investment? Invest that much in Indian Railway. Let it improve. Let it go to that kind of situation. But one thing I can tell you, we are making another mistake. We have done away with Janta type of trains, which used to stop almost at every station. And that used to serve this country. That is what we need. We need to connect the people, not disconnect the people. Fast trains do not serve the deserving people of India, and their numbers are very large. And I don't think even in another 10 years or so, or even more than that, because of the population issues and all others, we can bridge that gap so easily. That gap, some gap will always remain there. So I'm not against bullet train as such or as a speed, but investment in bullet train I consider is useless. Invest that much, 1,40,000 crore extra money, invest in the Indian Railways. Let them do it better. Without developing an extra infrastructure, you can do it much better. Why create a bullet train and run it in losses? Indian Railways is not in losses. It is not subsidized. Even earlier when it was giving concessions, no concession ticket incurred losses for the railway because every concession ticket was based on what is called a base price for the railway. And base price is the basic operational cost of the railway. That was realized even in a concessional ticket. And that's why Indian Railways has never been in loss. That is one thing we have to understand. Even now, not a paisa has been given from the budgetary allocation to the railways. Railways, whatever the allocations you see in the railway budget, it is all railways owned generated resources. Nothing has been given extra. And I think the railway budget, as it was being presented separately previously, should again be restored. Hope I could answer your question.
Thank you, Dada.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If there are no questions left, let me ask the last question and then we can wrap this up. Professor, is there anything called neutralism in journalism? So we know that it is a fashionable or a tactic to show yourself a very good, noble person who does not take side, who praises the government when it goes for good moves and criticizes wrong moves likewise. But can there be any neutralism in action? For example, because every human being has a political ideology, according to me. Everyone has biases. We all live in a different social environment. We all share different experiences which shape our ideologies. So, so the question remains: can there be any neutralism in media, or the term is being used for the sake of saying, can there? Because if an
Okay,
anchor is presenting.
I will just give you a small answer about myself. I have worked in National Herald, that was supposedly pro-Congress.
Hmm.
I have worked in Patriot, which is supposedly a CPI paper. Supposedly some funds used to come from Russia. I have worked in Indian Express, which is supposedly a BJP Sangh-oriented paper. In all the three newspapers, my editors and news editors, and that is, you see, in newspaper or in a news system, the news writer is not the final authority. There is an editorial system called sub-editors. They are the first reader, and they're the most critical reader. So for the smallest of mistakes, the junior most sub-editor used to come to me and ask questions, how it is like this. This cannot go like this. I had to accept his arguments because when he comes, naturally, he has doubts about it. I have to clear those doubts. And this happens to all the papers. This happened in National Herald. I could not write what I wanted because there is a system that wants that whatever is written is correct. I'm not saying neutral or anything. Correct. Factually correct. Ideologically, not ideology of the newspaper. Ideology of the nation, by that it is correct. Ethically it is correct. And for these three things, any journalist, any reporter, any article writer would be pulled up in Telegraph, in Patriot, in Indian Express, in Hindustan Times, or Times of India. The system is such, almost like foolproof. There are number of filters in it. So, when we basically, if you write a simple copy of a praise, nobody questions. But if you're writing a critical copy, the first questions are raised in-house. You have to pass that. I just mentioned now that I wrote for Bengal on the Bengal economy, how it is doing and how it is doing better than Gujarat. When I submitted that, the senior editor of Telegraph, almost for 3 days, rang me up repeatedly to clear his doubts on at least 10 different points. I'm a columnist. I'm not under him, but I can be questioned and I am questioned. In a television channel, also the same system is. But if the owners themselves compromise with the system, that is where the Bodhi media comes. That is where I mentioned that multinational corporations want that you have a pliable system in the news organizations. They use various kind of tools, advertising and many others. And most concerned about this is the US institutions US academicians and US people. America has done a wonderful study of the multinational corporation penetrating into various kinds of organizations, not only the news, how they penetrate the government and make it succumb. We are also getting into that. What is G7? G7 is not the organization of the 7 powerful countries. It is an organization of the most powerful multinational corporations. What is G20? It is an extension of those multinational corporations, where our own some of the multinationals are part of it. So these are very complicated and very multidimensional issues are involved in it. And a journalist, as I mentioned, has to fight it out every day. Journalist has no social security. He has no pension. He has no benefits, except in some papers like Hindu, they give it. Otherwise, he has nothing. He is not just on his own. If there is defamation case, in most cases, the organization would not fight. He would have to fight him himself. And in districts, it is the Daroga who rules the roost. If the Daroga wants, that would be the news. If Daroga doesn't want, that would not be the news. The stringers, the part-time reporters, the part-time journalists have very difficult living conditions, working conditions. And unfortunately enough, as a nation, we are not aware of this. We do not want it. We want to criticize, fine, you criticize, but support it also. You are not supporting. So if a part-time journalist does some mistake, maybe deliberate, there are many other questions involved in it. But I can also say, you may remember the Bhagalpur blinding case that was exposed not first by Indian Express, but is tabloid part-time paper. So there are good things also. There are many good things. And I believe instead of criticizing the journalists and journalism, people should be more alert about the government moves. They should ask more questions to the government than saying why you are asking the question. We are doing a disservice to our nation by protecting a government which may not always be honest. Because when you work under pressure, you may be made to be dishonest. So we have to understand these issues. These are possibly we can't end it in only this discussion. It can continue.
Just a
Thank you
small
so much.
question. Just a small final
Please.
question. He did something, did some wrongdoings of the government change your mind in some years? Because if I remember, you also featured in the academics for nation, academics for Namo. So, did something, over the course of years from 2020, change your mind, of being critical of the government?
I have been critical of the government always.
Okay.
Critical in the sense I have been analytical. I have been analytical in analyzing the government, and I won't name a finance minister. He was a regular reader of mine. That is what his PA told me. He used to take notes from my copies, and he used to do and implement certain things and suggested. My copy, if you look at, there are many more suggestions in it for anybody who wants to take the cue from it. So when I write, I am not writing against any particular person. I never criticize a person. I never criticize a particular party or organization. No, that is not my job. I would be analytically seen as, like, say, I am a buyer. I'm going to buy certain things from that particular shop. I would like to see whether the product is good or not, product is appropriate or not. So that is what exactly I try to do. Or that is what most journalists, I believe, they try to do. And they have, of course, individually, the method may be different. But no journalist, personally, I believe, he may have a particular association, political association also, or beliefs also. But he would not be a person who would be vindictive against a particular system. Professional, if he is a professional person, he deal it with professionally. Even if he has a, say, tilt of mind, he would try to deal it with his various kinds of facts and explain it to that. I can tell there are some extreme leftist journalists who have done given most literal copies during this election. They have analyzed the system very well and predicted the results would be like this. When I personally I did it, and I counted against 400, my count was the minimum was 170, maximum was 230. And I can tell you may see today that I was almost near correct. Because we, with years of training, we know what is happening during an election or any kind of other system that is happening, the budget or other things. So we know that. We understand that. Years of exposure makes you understand. And I can tell you, there have been many good things that have happened because of me. And one of it was the home loan system. Home loan system was virtually introduced. Then it was Sheila Kaur who was the urban development minister. So she came across one of my articles where some officers might have told her. And then I was asked, made various conditions, like just mentioned that the government should introduce the US mortgage housing system. So they wanted to understand what is the mortgage housing system. So after that, there were quite a few discussions and all that, the government system doesn't work in a one go. So I was involved in that. There are similar many other things. This EPF system, Employees Provident Fund system. In 90s, I was involved in developing a model of for, and that was, of course, we were trying to do it for journalists. But when we involved that, it became a national issue now. Everybody is being benefited, whatever the amount is. So a journalist contributes, I believe, any serious journalist, whatever his tilt may be, he contributes a lot to the society. He helps it correct. And governments, instead of being vindictive, they should listen to journalists, whatever they say. And if they try to muzzle, it becomes a great loss to them. We have seen during emergency, Mrs. Gandhi had created a similar ecosystem and she succumbed to that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor. So since we are running out of time, we need to wrap this up.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your views and thank you for enlightening us. Also, a special thanks to the audience for patient listening and questioning and for questioning. Again, a big thank you, Professor Shivaji Sarkar ji, for coming here. And again, we will meet with some, we will come with some another enlightened guest who will enlighten us from his views.
Sure.
Thank you so much again. Let's wrap this up. Thank you.